Hello everyone. Organizational coaching. Today we'll discuss the visions, the benefits of coaching. We will also discuss what is mentoring. The agenda under coaching would be what exactly is coaching, what are the advantages that the coaching brings for the employees, and how does it helps the organization in the larger scheme of coaching and mentoring. So who is a mentor? So mentor is someone usually very senior person who basically choose to help another individual. This individual might be groomed for senior position. What is a coach? So coach is basically unlocking of a person or probably a group of person potential to realize to the full performances. It helps them to learn rather than teaching them. We will be discussing coaching and mentoring under four heads, namely focus, role, process, environment. Coaching is the focus area for coaching would be to a specific areas or a particular issues at work. Whereas with mentoring, it will be all about career and personal development. Under role, coach should be a person who specifically for a shorter duration. Mentoring, on the other hand, is of holistic nature and is usually a mid-term to a long-term exercise. The process does not seems to be limited to small and medium enterprise for coaching. On the other hand, mentoring is a person who is usually more experienced, both in terms of knowledge and technical know how. This experience has to be given down or passed upon to the other employees. The environment under which coaching works is basically very formal, very structured, and it needs to have a regular meeting altogether. Whereas for mentoring, the environment is completely informal, infrequent meetings. In fact, it will not be wrong to say that the mentee sets the agenda, seeks the advice and guidance from the mentor. Now we will talk about when should you opt for coaching and mentoring. For mentoring, when a new workforce addition is there in an organization, or in other words, a new member joins the workforce. The other times would be when there is a change in role. Anytime the top management feels that employees needs to be coached or they need to pick up a new skills, you can go for mentoring purposes. So when should we use for coaching? Continuously used in order to enhance individual, team, and organization. Coaching is a regular affair. Mentoring can be on an ad hoc basis. So benefits of coaching for the organization. It empowers employees, definitely encourages them to take on higher responsibility. It increases employees and staff engagement and brings them a lifelong employment to the organization. It means loyalty, improves the performances and supports of the employees for the new responsibilities. The coaching also helps in identifying and developing high potential employees. Both strengths and weaknesses of the organization are tested and probably opportunities are explored for them. Helps to motivate and empower employees. Last but not the least, the employees demonstrate that the organization is an integral part of their career and probably the organization helps them in developing their skills and viability. So, benefit of coaching for the individual. The first and the foremost benefit will it enhances the positive impact of the performances. That means it leads to greater confidence. The employees learn to solve their own problems. They become better managers. They identify what are the problems and how to solve them and approach those problems accordingly. It enhances greater self awareness. For the individual, it individual is able to resolve and face any issues or the problem during his or her day to day interactions with the client and the employees thereafter. Coaching helps the individual to acquire new skills, develop greater ability to. We will now talk about performances equation. How does coaching helps us to enhance our performances? As for Whitmore, he says you must think of people in terms of potential and not performances. True, every individual has immense potential. But when it comes to performances, we don't realize those potential to the fullest brim. Why? The equation says out here performance and potential is equal to potential minus interference. I repeat again, performance is equal to potential minus interference. We will talk about interference this time for the presentation only related to psychology. Please ensure and please know that there are other interference too. For example, there can be interference in terms of economical abilities, physical abilities, sociological abilities. But for the sake of this presentation, we will talk about psychological interference only. So, what are they? They are namely confidence, attitude, motivation, stress, and fear. We all have various degrees of confidence. We have different attitude, motivation, the drive between us are different. We are we are able to handle stress differently, and there's an element of fear in all of us to no matter what degree of fear in us. So, as this graph says, you look into it, we have a potential. Each one of us are having a potential. Now, what are the interference that we talk around it? What can be the interference that is taken here? So, we have a huge potential, and then the interference is confidence, motivation, and fear. I am only for the elaboration purpose of this particular session, I am just naming these three interference. So, my actual potential was this. My real potential was this, but what is happening is this becomes my actual potential, or should I say actual potential is performances. So real potential, if we go to the slide a little back, see, this was my potential minus the interference of confidence, minus the interference of motivation, minus the interference of fear, comes my actual potential or the performances, as I would love to say it to you. What is the role of the coach? The coach actually helps you in learning what are your deficiencies by observation, by listening, effective questioning, and giving positive and definitely constructive feedback. The role of the coach is big in establishing a goal. We will talk about performance cycle. Now we have a goal out here. This is our goal. But then the interference as comes around self-image, beliefs, expectation, attitude, action, result. Mind you, are my potential areas, and these are the psychological parameters that acts as a performances. Every one of them has an interference play, and that is what relates to my performances. Feedback, giving a constructive feedback. Mind you, people might get bogged down by only negative feedback. So you need to give a constructive feedback which should have a blend of negativities and positivities around it so as to build a self positive image. This is very vital. Allowing two-way feedback builds trust, which supports a stronger belief in the coach and the coachee relationships. So when we are talking about coach and coachee relationship, You are not only supposed to give it or issue a diktat, but probably also hear it from the coachee as to where the lacuna is, where the problem. We will be talking about goals, setting goals by the coach for the coachee. So we will use two models. One is the grow model and the smart model. This ensures an individual expectations are realistic and that improvements in the performance can be clearly measured through results. Grow. Grow, the abbreviated word for G would be goal, R would be reality, O would be option, and last but not the least would be will. We have goal, reality, option, and will. So, how do we find what is my goal, what is my reality, what is my option, and what is my will? Please try to answer these following four questions. What is the focus? You will answer your the answer would lead to the goal. What happened or is happening is actually would answer what is your reality. How can it be done differently? So we will come to know about various options that is available to us. What impact will the change have, and is that a desired outcome? This will relate or answer the so effective questions. Number one, to raise awareness, to give ownership of action back to the individual, and most importantly, to inculcate a positive attitude for towards the future goals. Example would be, what do you think you have to do to improve your performances? It's a very realistic question that can be put forward. Or what will you have to do to progress to the next level? Being a very real feel that you want to give it to you. It will answer, do you have it in you to the higher arena? Now we'll talk about the observation and the listening technique. Effective observation and listening to coaches, action, and results allows the coach to build a picture of an individual current performances. Very, very important. We will talk about why a coaching culture is required. There are four aspects to it, as far as Peter said, which was mentioned in 2010. Stage one is an ad hoc coaching. It is usually driven by the individual, the coachee or the coach. Stage two, managed coaching driven by the champion or sponsor. So it is in you, inside you, the motivation inside you, which wants you to either engage a coach or become a coach. Stage three is proactive coaching driven by profitability or the business needs. Stage four, strategic coaching driven by the organization, talent strategy. That is the future requirement of the organization for which the organization determines, yes, coaching is what we want to go and probably improve the viability of the incumbent. So, why? The question remains why? Organization needs to be flexible. Please understand, in today's dynamic environment where everything changes on a daily or probably on a monthly basis, organization needs to be flexible and adaptable to survive. Coaching can be supported by creating a habit of challenging process, behaviors, and assumptions, making succession a very robust and better able to encompasses change in both internal and external environment. Next would be to reduce the attrition of the employees. Last but not the least, improve employee engagement and job commitment and performances. So basically making them more conducive, more confident, and more productive. We will now focus on mentoring. The agendas again remains the same thing. What is mentoring? Where it is going? What is change leadership and how does mentoring influences it? Role and dynamics, approaches to mentoring conversation. For the first time, let us differentiate between coaching and how it is different from mentoring. Coaching and mentoring are absolutely different from teaching and training because they draw learning rather than putting in it. Remember, the word is learning. They aim at reflection and experimentation, leading to individual development rather than at direct input that leads to expected output. Coaching is about getting the very best out of someone and enabling them to make decisions that will improve their performance. Whereas mentoring is about broader personal development, and sometimes even there are no fixed goal as such. Different types of coaching fall along a broad continuum. This is as mentioned by Hawkins and Smith in 2006. We are talking about skills, we are talking about coaching in performances, we are talking about coaching in development, and most importantly, we are talking about coaching in transformation. So, skills, performances, development, and transformation is where coaching would love to come in or is very helpful. We will try to understand coaching, whatever we have said, into a pictograph. Now, if we draw a vertical line, or should I say y axis, and then make them short term and long term, and an x axis, remember what we can only improve. We can only improve skills, we can only improve knowledge, we can only improve behavior, we can only improve competencies. Where it is on a longer term perspective, these are only improved. These are the only things: skills, knowledge, behavior, and competencies on a longer term perspective is on the right hand side. So there are four quadrants. Excuse me. So, coaching would be something which is improvement in skills, knowledge, behavior, and competencies on a shorter term. Whereas, please remember, the same thing on a longer term would be mentoring. Mentoring would be again skills, knowledge, behavior, competencies over a long period of time would be mentoring. So, this is where did I say at the very beginning that coaching and mentoring are the flip side of the same coin? This is where the interaction is all about it. The coaching influences. We have adult learning theory. Definitely, all of us have ability to learn at various stages of our life, at a various stage of our ages. So we have adult learning theories, life stage development, performance improvement, counseling, psychotherapy, settings. For example, different arena that we talk about in which we want to pick up the skill, be it sports, be it skills, be it career, be it team, be it leadership, be it executive styles, which needs to be different for every one of us, maybe narrative, maybe goal directive. And then there are other models called grow, which we have already said, NLP and clean. Now we come to the fact of role of a mentor. The role of a mentor is that of an expert, or at best near peer or peer or reverse. The role of a mentor is to provide them a guidance, a basic support that if anything goes wrong, the mentor is going to intervene. Career guidance needs to be on short term to a mid term. It The mentor would be able to elevate the role, elevate stress altogether, and probably invoke a confidence in their colleague. Mentor would be providing advice on different and practical issues. Mentor would be non-judgmental. We have to be very voluntary as far as mentor is concerned. Mentor does not have any vested interest, no interest in the growth and profitability and the outcome altogether. So no vested interest for the mentors. Mentors would be giving the role just for the sake of giving it. It's completely voluntary. And definitely mentor would help them as to you can bounce the ideas with them with the help of them and probably check things out. Mentors are the role model. We'll talk about dimensions of mentoring. The dimensions of mentoring: on the x axis will plot mentees needs, and on the y axis will plot the mentor's influences, and then we'll have the four quadrants of mentoring. So we have self-reliance for non-directive influences of mentor, and directive influences would be very practical support, absolutely. Whereas what does mentee need? Mentee does not need anything, only as far as emotional requirement, that is of your heart, encouragement, and of intellectual requirements, that is of your mind and learning. So we have got four dimensions of mentoring: one that of coach, which is practical and learning oriented; of that one, second is of that of guardian, that is encouragement and practical support; The third one would be of counselor, which is self-reliance or non-directive and emotional. Please understand, this is of absolutely very important. Counselor who just gives you counseling and nothing else. And the last one would be of network facilitator, showing you the path, what to do around it. It's absolutely non-directive, self-reliance and learning. So if you might be, the mentor might be able to tell it to you, what are the future trends that might be coming up. And he or she just directs you to pick up the new skills and new requirement that is required. So we've got four dimensions of mentoring. One, that of coach, that of guardian, second. Third would be of counselors, and network facilitators. So common mentees need. We'll come to basic requirements of mentees this time. Mentee requires just support and probably helps in the life transitions. Mentee requires personal and probably most importantly professional insights. Next would be challenging assumptions. What is whatever it's coming to the whatever thoughts or reservation that comes into the mind of a mentee. Mentee needs walking towards goal, being directive, moving career in a right and a probably the new directions. Mentee needs working through change, working through complexity, and most importantly, navigating ambiguity. Even there might be lot of disturbances, lot of interference. The mentee needs to be holding on to their focus and their belief and walking into the same direction as been decided upon. Building resilience and self-esteem required. So what is a mentor relationship? If we plot on x-axis the time, this is the time factors and this is the learning factor on the y-axis. So if we look into it, we have a normal curve which goes around it. It is simple normal curve that goes around it. And the very first stage is of building rapport. The time you are new to the organization, you will come to know about the people, the process in the organization, and you try to build rapport. Then comes the next stages, which is called setting direction. Setting direction is the direction where will you understand who has the acumen, which matches your thought process, and which people might be an interference in your day-to-day working. So you basically understand whom to avoid and whom to fall upon or rely upon. So that is what setting direction is all about. So after you have this cross these two stages of building rapport and setting direction, you move to progression, or should I say you start delivering. Your productivity improves. And you see, after a point of time, till this point of time, this might be for some people, it might be 1 year, somebody, it might be 6 months, somebody, it might be 10 years. It is in times of time, I have not denoted in number of days, weeks, or years. So basically, after a point of time, when you are delivering consistently, you will have a sense of boredom in this particular stage, and where probably it might be your fault since you might get bored of it, or the company might lose validity or authenticity in the, or should I say relevance during the existing business scenario. As a result, the performance starts dipping and you realize what is to be done, or winding up comes comes up. Once it starts declining, you will automatically realize after a certain point of time that it is time to move on. The mental relationship will tell it to you. So building rapport is very important between mentor and mentee. Getting to know you versus who do you want to become. These are two different things. The question is getting to know you versus who you want to become. So we will talk about questioning. Number one would be a first question, probing. So what do you want, or what do you exactly come up to be? Clarifying thoughts, creating insights, setting goals. The next question would be of challenging, let's say of opening horizon, of unfreezing assumptions, exploring opportunity. The first thing you might be deciding, what is my existence, why are we doing a particular thing, and then probably we challenge those existence, those rituals, those regulations, and probably toying with new ideas altogether. This toying stage is known as focusing and testing, the pulling your thoughts together. You are validating the realities and setting the boundaries. Once you try toying with your ideas or test with your process, You confirm whether your process is better than the earlier one. And that is where which we'll be looking about building confidence. Agreeing actions, will to succeed is what we actually look up to. So this is where an end. And with this, I think all of you have understood everything which is required for coaching and mentoring. Thank you.